All right, I think it's about time that we do an entire tour of the Refloat package so that you can get used to how everything is set up and go over some other general things like haptic buzz, error alerts, and other like general settings. It's important to know that once Refloat is loaded on to your VESC, it comes with a lot of general values that should work. You shouldn't need to change much in here unless you're specifically prompted to, like high voltage and low voltage pushback. Most of these values are pretty good for your initial writing, and each of these values have a little help button that will describe their function. I will explain the ones that I find the most important, but that's it. The first three tabs are Tune, Tune Modifiers, and ATR. These tabs hold the majority of values and sliders that will affect how the board rides. Within VESC Tool, almost all of these are impossible to fully comprehend unless you're a pro. Floaty and Flow Control both have access to all of these values on their side, so it's a lot more intuitive and diegetic to change it over there than it is in here. But you can do it in here if you want. You're just a masochist if you do so. Like I said, on the floaty tune side, I'm not going to talk about what each of these values all do because I don't really know what they do. I know how to make my board do the thing that it is that I want it to do, but I don't know what that exactly is. In order to explain what all those tune values do, it would require an entire other video. And I mean, I'm like halfway through my script, so I just don't have enough time to do all of it. The fourth tab is named Startup, and it shows a bunch of information regarding how your board behaves at, as you guessed it, the startup. The first three groupings are all related to what pitch you want the board to be engageable at and how fast it'll do it. I personally leave all of these at default, and you don't need to change them unless you want to have certain other behaviors. Below, we have start options. My favorite in here is simple start. You natively have a dual zone sensor, which you have to press on both to level and engage the board. But if you don't step on it right, or if your foot pad is on the unsensitive side, you'll fail to activate both and you'll have a mount of shame. How pathetic. Simple Start helps fix this. It'll allow our dual zone sensor to be a single zone sensor upon startup, but after a short time will turn back into a dual zone sensor for writing. This feature is goated. Another notable feature is the parking brake or brake current. This value is what allows your board to stay in one spot and not roll down on an incline while idle. Our next tab is Stop. This tab has a lot of values that dictate situations when a board will come to a stop or cut off. The first grouping is called Angle Faults. These are thresholds for scenarios where your board would topple or turn over. When this happens, the board will disengage. I leave these alone, they're pretty okay at their generic settings. The next grouping is called Switches, which have to do with how your foot pad functions, switching on or off. In this group, you can modify how fast a foot pad can be disengaged and when it will allow it to do so. For the most part, I leave these alone, but I have to talk about POSI and DMF. POSI is a setting in which you can turn your entire dual zone foot pad into a single zone foot pad, sort of like Simple Start, but forever. This can drastically help engagements for things like tricks or trails, but it removes the ability to heel lift at a stop. This can also increase your chances of ghosting. If you're not familiar with what that is, I'll explain that shortly. DMF, or Disable Moving Faults, is a setting which above a certain speed, your foot pad will not detect foot pad disengagements. This will eliminate all false deactivations at speed. This setting does not work in reverse, however. It only works in the forward direction. In the reverse direction, it will turn off to avoid ghosting. It's important to note that if your board is reading negative speed values, then the board is going to think it's going in reverse when you're actually going forwards, and Disable Moving Faults isn't going to work. And since backwards is now forwards, it'll keep the foot pad engaged if your board ghosts, which won't be a good thing. So if your speedometer is reading in the negative direction, you should get that fixed. Most of us know what ghosting is, but to the uninitiated, ghosting is when your foot pad remains engaged on after you hop off. When you hop off, the board is still bouncing, but now it's taking the weight of the battery and it's taking it as an acceleration, and it's gonna shoot off backwards, and it won't stop until it hits something or manages to deactivate itself, like with one of those fault cutoffs. If you have a setting like POSI on, if one of the two dual zone sensors are stuck somehow, the entire foot pad will still remain engaged and it'll fly off when you jump off. It basically takes your chance of ghosting and raises it by like 50%. Posi can help your activations by 50%, but it will also encourage ghosting by 50%. A stuck sensor can happen for many reasons. The physical sensor being broken, water getting stuck on the grip tape and weighing it down, acting like a foot, or debris being stuck on the foot pad. DMF can also encourage ghosting behavior. Like I said before, if your speed direction is backwards, or if you just have a really weird config on your board, it can open you up to ghosting scenarios. But there's also one other failure state where DMF can encourage ghosting. Let's say if you're on a trail and you're going down a steep enough incline and you were to jump off, your board has enough weight and momentum that is flying down the hill that it will trick the board into thinking that someone is still on it, and it'll stay engaged and stay accelerating forward, and it'll turn it into a little missile. It'll stop once it hits a slow enough speed where it's able to shoot backwards again, but it's a little bit dangerous going downhill. There's one more notable toggle switch that I want to bring your awareness to, and it's reverse stop. Reverse stop will slowly drop your board's tail, setting it down and disengaging the motor if the board is going backwards. So this can help catch things like ghosts if the board shoots off backwards. But this also makes it really hard to stay stable and in one position on your board, because you have to rock back and forth, and as soon as you go backwards, it'll try dropping the tail, and you can't ride backwards if you're doing tricks and whatnot. But it's just another switch that you might want to know where it's at. A lot of these adjustments in this area are very easy to make, but can lead to a lot of dangerous things. Please make any adjustments to your board mindfully, fully considering all the risks that they might entail. Remote. I'm skipping this tab because it's not a common one that you'll ever have to mess with. If you're ever inside of this tab, you know why you're inside of this tab. So for the most part, just ignore it. LEDs. Ugh. LEDs are genuinely the most annoying thing to deal with in this community. I think it's the only thing that companies like Future Motion have gotten it right on their boards. It's been a consensus now that if you're able to get properly working LEDs on your board, you've essentially mastered VESC. Congrats. I've still yet to do that. LEDs are just really, really finicky, and VESC doesn't have a good history of handling them well. Not VESC as Vetter, but as VESC, the one-wheel community. Just to make an important distinction between that. But here's some basic general information that might help you in getting your LEDs up and running. 1. LEDs must be configured first before ever getting any proper LED animation. 2. In order to properly configure them, you have to know your LED type, the LED length, and the LED order. In the case for Thor controllers, your LED type is going to be 12 volt RGB. The length depends on the strip, so you'll literally just have to count out the individual LEDs that are on the strip. And in the case of Thor's, LEDs are daisy chained together. So they go status, front, and rear. And 3, in order to see any type of LED change that you make inside of Refloat, you have to power cycle the board after each change. This allows the LED controller to turn off and then come back on with those new changes. After you've set in all that information, then you can jump to the LED tab. When you're in here, you can start messing around with all the colors and animations. There are far too many settings for me to go through inside of this video, so just go wild. So we've already messed with this tab a few times to set up LEDs and to set up the battery voltage alerts, but let's just rehash it in case you're skipping around the video. In this tab, you'll have multiple important toggle switches. The first toggle is to disable or enable Refloat. This is important when doing things like motor setup, as having this enabled will mess with any type of results that you're trying to get. You'll have your high voltage and low voltage pushback. These are 2 important battery health settings that I've talked about through multiple times during this video. You know, I actually don't know how I'm cutting this video because I might cut it up into multiple videos. So saying this video might infer that it's one major one when I might be cutting it down into parts. Who knows? You're gonna see. You'll also have access to all the footpad input voltage. You can increase or decrease the threshold in which you want the footpad to engage. I said this a while ago, but footpads work on a sliding scale of 0 to 3.3 volts, and you can change whatever that activation point is going to be. Just know that if you make it lower, you're making it easier for the foot pad to engage, but you're also making it easier for it to ghost. So be mindful. You'll have all that LED spec information that I talked about how many seconds ago. There's another value inside of here that's also sometimes important, and it's called reverse LED order. Sometimes your foot pad indicator will be backwards and you'll want to cosmetically correct it. This is the value to do that with. And you'll also have your beeper activation switch. If you want to turn on or off your beeper, you should be able to do it right here.